Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society.
Hello, and welcome back to Three Witches and a Druid, where we sit around the kitchen table, or once again, as we are on Zoom, and talk about being pagan in our modern world. I'm Margot.
I'm Maeve.
I'm Gwen.
And I'm Brian.
And tonight, we are going to reflect on the year 2020 and how that changed our pagan practices, perhaps.
So 2020. It's been a crazy year. Lots of ups and downs. I think the vast majority of people you talk to would say this has definitely been one of the worst years they've experienced. It's changed a lot of how we do things and how we look at society and how we're probably going to move forward. We'll try to talk about it from the pagan perspective, but of course, there's going to be lots of commentary just on society in general. And of course, this is still on Zoom, so there might be breaks and interruptions, us talking over each other, et cetera, et cetera. So of the four of us, did any of you guys participate in like a Zoom ritual, an online ritual?
Yes.
We pretty much did one together sort of thing, more than one.
One, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't do any large community ones, and I know they were hosted, but small group ones I did. And by the time we got around to actually doing something like that, I was really craving that in the spring. I don't know about everybody else. I was really grateful to have that.
It was really, really nice. Maybe people out there don't know, but I'm not a big techno person. I'll do the radio, I'll do this, but to go on, chat rooms and all that, I was so dubious. But now it has become really just quite normal almost, because any other group I belonged to, you had to Zoom. And I did do online rituals. I was very, as I say, dubious in the beginning, but it really, really did help, even doing them on Zoom. So that was great.
I participated in a few different rituals, and one of the bonuses with doing rituals online was that you're able to do ritual with people that you're obviously don't live close to. So I took part in a couple of the ADF rituals, which was really nice because you get to participate in a ritual with people you may talk to online, but would never even think of like doing a ritual with Druids in California or Australia. So that was really nice. That was, I guess, a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's sort of been one of when we were talking about previous episodes about people who teach online and create content online, were almost ahead of the curve in this situation where they were set up and ready to interact with people electronically and were prepared for this kind of a networking type of situation where nobody really had done it before. There was no necessity. But if you already had that set up somewhat and had some practice at it, I think it was a pretty easy transition for a lot of people.
Will admit that because I was in the Zoom groove, I did do a couple of seminars that I normally in the past would, if I can't go in person, I would never have done them online. So that was very interesting. I actually did a few extra things because you're in that Zoom groove, I suppose.
I guess maybe that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that, but I know that they mentioned small local businesses that weren't set up for online to the same extent as giant. So your local bookstore as opposed to Amazon or whatever. Amazon has made a killing. The guys that are already big, that were already set up for online, did much better. I'm really curious now that Marco, you wisely said that there were people that were already doing online schools and courses and covens and that sort of thing. I'm thinking they probably did very well as well, whereas maybe small group stuff, not so much until they got up to speed, where it would be a seamless transition. And these bigger schools that were already set up online were open and ready for business. We all saw that reflect in general consumer, our general society, but I wasn't even thinking spiritually. That's probably very true. And I know, Brian, you said it's not paid, it's not a business model, but the Facebook group, the Maritime Pagan Community, just had a blossoming.
Oh yeah, there was a period there for a while where we were getting 40, 50 new members a week.
Wow.
It was kind of crazy. It's quieted down over the holidays. I think last week we only had 3 new members. That's to be expected. It's been interesting. Just to go back to the idea of ritual online for a moment, one of the benefits that a lot of people wouldn't have realized was online rituals really made rituals more accessible for people who couldn't maybe go out in public due to a variety of reasons, but where the Zoom really gave them access to that where they weren't able to access it before. So I kind of hope that in the after times, when things do get a little bit better, that maybe that's one of the bonuses that'll stick around, is a little bit more of the online connection to give accessibility to those who cannot access it.
There were 2 in particular I can think of off the top of my head. You know, I wouldn't have been at those rituals because I wasn't driving to PEI,
Yeah.
you know, and another one was, you know, down Windsor Way. And it's like, no, I probably would not have driven for 7 o'clock all that way or something, but it was able to be done online, which, as somebody who's really not into technology, I surprised myself an awful lot.
It actually kind of brings me back, Brian, to when we were young and had that 3-channel television universe that I grew up with. They had Mass for Shut-ins, right?
Yeah.
The Sunday morning programming. And I remember Maeve has been one of the longest running hosts of the CKDU Pagan radio show, but, you know, it's a shared position and there have been multiple other hosts. And at one point, maybe 25 years ago or something, there was somebody who ran opposite you, or I'm not sure. But anyway, she would do Mass for Shut-ins once every other show. She did quotation marks Mass for Shut-ins, and she did a ritual online. And I think that faded out from popularity because eventually it became so easy to do stuff in the community, didn't it? People weren't solitary unless it was by choice.
I did used to do them frequently, and I think the last time I did one was probably 2-3 years ago. So yeah, but this is really, it's nice because, you know, you're seeing people face to face and you can, you know, smile and talk, and really nice that way. Yeah.
Yes, much nicer than strictly on radio. Yes.
Yes, definitely much nicer.
Awesome. One thing I did get to do this year, over the summer, there's a variety, of course, festivals. There's a Druid festival in Ontario and a few Druid festivals down in the States. And I actually had planned to attend one of the ones in the States, but of course, due to COVID, I didn't get to do any of that. But what happened is that 2 of the major festivals that took place out in the States took place online, just over Zoom. And it was interesting to be able to, I was able to participate. I saw a lot in the witching community. A lot of their festivals and conventions all moved online quite easily. So that was really interesting to see. Did any of you guys participate in any of that?
I did not.
I didn't. No. I guess much like me, I am a bit of a technophobe. So I really wasn't in tune with any of that stuff or aware of any of that stuff. I don't know whether I would have or not.
Brian, how does that work? Is it a matter of the workshops are online, that sort of idea?
Yes. So the 2 that I attended were set up both similarly. They'd have a schedule posted, and basically they'd have multiple Zoom rooms. So what we're doing here right now is a Zoom room, but they would have another room where another workshop was going on, and they would have another one where another workshop was going on. And then a lot of them, the ones I enjoyed, they'd have another room where it was just mix and mingle. Feel free to log into this Zoom anytime you like for the day and chat to whoever's there. And that was kind of nice. You pretty much just mute your mic, listen to the presenter give their workshop over Zoom, and you just kind of went on a schedule like that. It was usually 10-minute bathroom breaks, go get some drink and food between each session, and then you would come back and you do the next workshop. And then even at the end of the night, some of them had bardic circles where they would have a scheduled system of performers. Everybody would get muted except the performer. The performer would perform, and then the next person would get unmuted and they would perform, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not the same as sitting around a fire with your horned mead, but it's better than sitting at home and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think what I was more surprised about is just how quickly people were able to bring it together. Because a lot of these events, they had really hoped that things would clear up. And I think it was Wellspring only canceled like 3 months before the event. So they took 3 months, so they were able to throw everything up online and make it happen.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice that these things happened, even, though we were in this situation.
Yeah. So one of the benefits of that, I think this was mostly in the witching community, was that a lot of presenters who normally wouldn't be available were suddenly available. And so a lot of the workshops became more than people were expecting, because such and such an author or...
For sure. Budgets would allow for that.
Yeah.
Because they didn't pay for travel and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The festivals themselves, they still weren't cheap. I think Wellspring I paid $30 for, but I know there was some Temple of Witchcraft ones that were $80, $100. Yeah. There was a woman in Paganism one, which was $100, but they had limited the amount of participants. I think it was a max 100 people. So yeah, it's interesting.
Probably allow better for more control of the quality of whatever the platform was, Zoom or whatever, so that people a decent interaction with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting in that sense, because I personally had planned to attend one of these festivals in the States, but I wasn't going to be able to attend both. But due to COVID, I was able to attend both, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. Coming, as we did, from Northern Ontario and an isolated and solitary practice to Nova Scotia, I just think about that, my first MPGFA, that weekend camping event, and how I basically walked around in shock for that whole weekend. You can see the people that come and it's their very first time at being at something like that, because they just realize that they're not so alone and that
these are my people.
Yeah.
And I could see possibly going back to an MPGFA event if they were still running on a digital format, but I can't imagine that if it's your first event ever, you don't have that struck to your core sort of feeling of awe from the arm's length sort of distance of a digital event. It's better than nothing for sure. And I think it probably helped people get through 2020. But that chance to really see people in the real.
Oh, yeah, that will always outweigh.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of nice if events like this were able to keep some sort of digital aspect for the individuals who can't attend.
Yes.
Be it live streaming a talk, and then you almost have like two festivals going on at the same time, one in the real and one in the virtual.
I know that when, and this is not yesterday either, and you were involved, Brian, when the Canadian Pagan Conference, the May 24th one, was being held here in Halifax, we really tried to do something like that so that people that could not come all the way across the country would have access to workshops and everything. But the technology is so improved in the last 10.
Oh, yeah. It was those Zoom. Was there even really, like, I know Facebook existed, but I think at that time it was still university student only kind of thing.
Yeah, basically. So, we did do those recordings and we did make them available, but more as digital files that we emailed to people. But to be able to offer that second stream, and like you say, for people with mobility issues or anything that means that they are unable, financial issues, it can bring people a whole lot closer.
Speaking of financial, it's just an extra stream of revenue. Like, I'm not saying you have to give it away for free. You can still charge for that access.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Canadian Pagan Gathering, that doesn't happen anymore, does it?
What?
Well, it did this year, right? And I can't remember last year. I think
it was a Gaia Gathering.
Gaia Gathering.
Oh, the Gaia Gathering. Okay.
Yeah, it was the May 24th. It was.
I know they were having issues finding like cities.
Host cities. Yeah.
I truthfully don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Just on the topic of 2020, and we were speaking of our, Zooming and keeping our spirituality up. Did any of you find your spirituality really challenged this year?
I wouldn't say it was challenged. I feel personally, becoming pretty much unintentionally unemployed, I found I had a lot more time to devote to it.
That came out wrong. My spirituality itself wasn't challenged, But for the first however many months when we were all sort of locked up and confused, to make yourself do these extra things because you weren't getting out to see people and rituals and all that. Did you find you slacked there at all? I found I slacked in the beginning.
I did.
Probably because I was so upset. And, you couldn't get out. And sometimes, when you're in a bad headspace, maybe what gets you out of it is to go out and meet your friends and have a red or do drumming or whatever the case might be. When I say challenged, I mean that way. Not that I said, oh, the goddess doesn't exist, she wouldn't do that. None of that crap. But I mean, you find yourselves really challenged to do what you normally do. Does that make sense?
I did. I think part of that is because I actually worked through the whole lockdown. I'm one of the few people that I know that actually worked outside of the home during lockdown. Well, Gwen did as well.
Yeah.
And we were busier than normal. So I know for my mental health, for sure, getting out of the house and working every day was good. I know for a fact I would not have done as well being quarantined at home by myself for that long period of time. But I was so focused on work and I was so focused on devoting so much of my energy to that I think I didn't have a whole lot of energy left because I left too, as you said, when you're not in the mood or you don't feel you have the energy to devote to your spirituality.
Not that my beliefs changed.
I really relied on our group, who other folks in it would say, okay, we're going to meet together on Zoom this night. And that was my save. Somebody else making the schedule, somebody else setting it up so that there was a place for me to come and be amongst my friends, even if it was digital.
Right.
I think the fact that I had the Grove was a massive help. I didn't really have to experience that because we kind of did everything as a Grove together, pandemic or not, be it online. Funny enough, early on, we sort of established this quirky little thing we called Saturday night ciders, where just as a Grove, we would log on to Zoom and drink a cider and sort of catch up with one another. And so we still sort of had that connection, that our own personal little pagan community, which really, I would say, helped me get through it all.
That sounds wonderful. I have cider in my fridge. I have cider and coincidentally not doing anything on Saturday night. So,
There you go.
I've been drinking local, eating local whenever I can. I've been doing a lot of supporting of local businesses
Right.
as well.
Yeah, the same. We try to do most of our holiday shopping local as local as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a few pagan books I picked up that I've gone out of my way to get from the Neighborhood Witch or Bookmark and not ordered quick and easy on Amazon. I just ordered, I think it's called The Ritual of Writing from the Bookmark. And it's going to be a few weeks, but I'd rather give them the money versus give it to Amazon.
Yeah, good for you.
They need more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want them to stick around through everything. I did work as well, so that routine really means that my private practice, it's all part of my day, so I was able to maintain that. The part that was difficult was those first few months. I have a dog, so I had a good excuse to walk around the block, but you couldn't even walk around 2 or 3 blocks. They really wanted you to stay close to home. Couldn't go to beaches or parks or that type of thing. And a really large part of me getting in the zone is to be in nature. So
Absolutely.
I found that first few months difficult for that reason. But once things opened up and we never had to go to that extreme again, it's been much easier because I need that feet in the ground, walk around the Long Lake Park or whatever to cope.
I'm much the same. I got a little down at the beginning because anytime I went to the places I would go, walk the Mac Run, this, that, the beat, wherever the places I may go, it was like a participation ad. Every places were packed. There wasn't a minute to just stand beside the river or the lake and just connect. And if you did stand there connecting or, trying to do your polarity of earth and sky, there's 15 people looking at you.
Yeah.
I did get really down in the beginning for a while, but then when Zoom things started going and I was in with my group and everything, then it got better. But once summer came and you could really go out into the middle of, wherever and go camping and this. But around Metro, to find a place to connect quietly, that was hard.
Mm-hmm. Nice that people were appreciating nature in a way that a distracted population doesn't normally. So nice to see people in the parks, nice to see people on the beach. And maybe that's a behavior that not at those crazy numbers. And already it's kind of died down those numbers, but I still go to the parks and the numbers are way higher than they have been in years past at the different times of the year. You know, for this time of year where it's kind of cold and stuff, to drive there and see as many cars lined up outside the parking lot and that sort of thing. There are still people, some that are maintaining those things that happened at the beginning of the lockdown. And I think that can only be good for everybody.
You know, when you drive to the frog pond and you can't get in the parking lot and it's like a mile on either side up the road.
Yeah.
And you want to say, I was here before, people. I was here before 2020.
It'll be shoulder to shoulder in there. It's great.
Yeah.
But again, it's wonderful that people are getting out and a lot of families out together, which was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So to circle back to what we were talking about with the Maritime Pagan community and its influx of members, is a lot of the new members are that this COVID quarantine lockdown has made them sort of sit down and look at themselves and look at the world around them. And it's made them rethink a lot of things. And a couple of quick Google searches and you read about environmental concepts or sustainability or living a more sustainable lifestyle, it all leads you right back to paganism. And then they start to realize, wait a minute, like this is maybe more in tune of what I'm looking for. So that's been really interesting. I've had a lot of conversations with people online over the last few months about that. A lot of new pagans that are like, how much lifestyle is there here? And it's like, it's not much different than what you're doing now, except better and healthier.
Yeah.
So I was looking up something, I found it. One of the video I found early on during the whole lockdown, and I'll link it in our video. It's called The Great Realization. Hindsight is 2020. Did you guys ever see that?
That's not what I've seen. No.
I don't.
So it's a guy telling the story to his child about the year 2020 when society starts to realize that, well, hold up, there's a lot of things in our society that just don't work. The economy is fake. It's not that the economy is fake, it's just it doesn't mean anything. And in the end of the day, your own personal health and mental health, being able to survive with a roof over your head, those are the things that actually matter. So with the conflict between landlords and renters and banks and economies and all this sort of stuff that people are starting to wake up to. It's a really good video. I'll send you guys the link later.
That'd be great, I think.
Yeah.
That actually corresponds very much to the great conjunction we've just had.
Agreed.
How whatever it is moved out of Capricorn for the first time in 200 years and gone into air, an air sign, Aquarius, which will mean people will be thinking more and more about these things.
Yeah.
You know, look at the last 200 years of capitalism and, you know, industrial revolutions and this and this and this.
And look where that's got us.
Yeah, be more, you know, mindful and thinking about these things because we're going into Aquarius, which is a very, you know, social institution centric, you know, thinking about things, humanity. It's going to be very interesting times coming.
So not to wrap things up, but to sort of lead us back to the other end. Does any of you have any more comments about 2020? That's a big smile.
I was just wondering, Brian, I worked maybe even more in some ways than my one job. I was locked out of the prisons, but my job in the hospital was, doubled down, and there was as much overtime as a person could step up and take at the beginning for sure. I'm wondering, do you think that finally, after decades of people talking about creating a legal entity to further non-denominational sense, the aims of paganism comes out of being at 2020, like that this actually, we finally managed to get our act together and have all the volunteers that said they were able to step up, has that come together because of 2020, do you think?
I don't know if it's because of 2020. I think it's just personally, I think it's just a natural evolution of society and time. Like, we can only drive our gas-guzzling cars and throw out our plastic wrappers for so long before we start to see the signs. And I think with 2020, people started to see those signs a lot quicker. Like, there was periods during lockdown where the sky was so crystal clear because no one was driving. Yeah. And everything was so quiet and you could hear the birds and You see so many comments on social media of people saying like, my goodness, I've seen a variety of birds in downtown Halifax I've never seen before. Yeah, because there's there's nothing else happening. It's great.
You know, because so many people were locked down and not working, people got to look around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just too tired. Don't get the chance to look around and go, holy cow, I never noticed that. I think too that we're always there. People started to notice.
Yeah. The other big realization is and unfortunately Margot didn't get to participate in this, but working from home, people started to realize, wait a minute, this job, I drive into town 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back every day. I can do this from home just as well as I can do it from the office.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that may continue.
Yeah.
Even when COVID comes to its conclusion, whenever that may be. Many businesses also are going to say, we can make our offices half the size.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Spend way less money on electricity and heat and this and make their own businesses far more streamlined. I think that could happen as well.
Yeah. So that's where I was going next with this conversation is the pandemic's not over. We've still got months to go. There's vaccines being given out now, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm not getting a vaccine for months. I'm not going to comment about you guys getting vaccines, but yeah, we've still got a period to go. And unfortunately, the previous lockdowns have all been in the spring, summer, and fall. Now we're heading into the worst of the worst. I guess fingers crossed, people can find some way to connect and hopefully it leads them out the other end.
I know one thing I've mentioned to a couple of people that when the lockdown was really in full effect and people were really struggling, my mental health, which has always been very iffy for me, was actually quite good. And I was doing quite well. And I think part of that is because I realized that my life being a disaster at this point is not my fault. It's outside influences, and my life wasn't such a disaster, but I was able to look at it that way. And my hope is that I can carry that forward so that even when COVID is over or whatever our new normal is, I don't sink back into my old way of thinking of, well, this is all my fault.
Right.
Because I'm not good enough or I wasn't this enough. Whereas it's all outside influence.
It's so much easier to deal with your own dumpster fire when you look around and realize everybody around you has a dumpster fire.
Exactly. It's not my fault. The situation that's going on or the situation, the stressors that I'm trying to deal with are not of my own creation. So don't own that and don't wear it.
Right.
But rather than spending that energy owning it and torturing yourself, use that energy to have the strength to face them in a new and different way, because we're having to face and learn how to do everything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's it for today's episode.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in with us. And if you liked our show, we certainly would love for you to go in and give us some stars there, give us a review. And if you have any questions or other comments or anything you'd like to ask us, you can certainly go to our Facebook page, 3 Witches and a Druid, and contact us that way. And we'll be speaking again in about 2 weeks. So until next time, everybody, merry meet.
Merry heart.
Merry meet again.
Blessed be.
This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.